How's it going, everybody? This is Griffdog here, and welcome back to another episode of Grifftalks, a show where we as fans openly discuss NASCAR. Now, I do have one announcement to make, and that is the 10th 10 Winners Challenge will come out probably this Tuesday. The reason why Tuesday is because I'm putting a little more work into this, and plus, it's the Season 1 finale. So after this, I'm not going to make any more 10 Winners Challenges for a while, and that's just because I want to work on some other projects. I will have more announcements regarding those projects down the road, but just note that this Tuesday will be the final episode of the 10 Winners Challenge, and then some more stuff is going to come my way, and I'll make those announcements when the time is right. So now let's get into the race rundown. So we had two races last weekend in Las Vegas, one in Xfinity and the other in for the Cup Series. So for the Xfinity Series, we all know that Joey Logano won in the 12 car, meaning that the 22 car has yet to win a race in this year or last year. And so the top three were swept by Cup guys, but not Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch, he finished in the 7th position, and he was my pick for last weekend, but he did have a dominant car all race long, but at the very end, he just didn't have it. But you know who was in front of Kyle Busch though? Darrell Wallace Jr. So happy for him. I'm very glad that Darrell Wallace Jr. is having these good runs, and I think it's probably one of the best starts he's ever had in the Xfinity Series. So good for him. Now, surprisingly, it's not Bubba who was the best Xfinity regular that finished. That goes to Justin Allgaier. He finished in the 4th place. So congrats to him, congrats to that team, and hopefully that carries on throughout the rest of the season as well. Now, a couple of disappointments belong to Brendan Gaughan and Matt Tifft. Matt Tifft, he got into some incidents in turn 2, and he didn't have a good finish. And then Brendan Gaughan, he just had problems all day long. So we'll see if they rebound at Phoenix and see if they do any good in the season as well. So now let's turn our attention now to the Cup Series. So as you guys know, Martin Truex Jr. won the race at Las Vegas. So congrats to him. That is the 3rd different winner of the season. First Toyota win as well. My pick is Kevin Harvick, and he finished 38th because he blew a tire on the front stretch and into the outside wall. That just comes to show that I am terrible at picks, and I'm going to get one someday. I promise you guys. It's going to happen, and it's going to be great. A couple other surprises that were in the top 10 include Ryan Blaney, who finished 7th, and then Clint Bowyer, who finished 10th. So good job to both of those guys, and we'll see if their momentum continues as well. Now, a couple of disappointments I do want to throw in are Kevin Harvick and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Harvick, as I mentioned, finished 38th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he finished 33rd because his rear axle broke. Because you guys saw at the end of the race, like the rear axle was just jutting out from the left side of his car. And so because of that, he had to go down and fix it. Now, the reason why this is a disappointment was because Stenhouse had a good car all race long. He was in the top 20 pretty much throughout the whole day until that axle broke. And because of that, he finished 33rd. So tough day for him. Hopefully he rebounds at Phoenix. The other struggle too is Chevy. Chevrolet has not been doing the best this season so far. And I mean, they have good cars. Because I mean, this last weekend, Chase Elliott finished 2nd, and no, other way. Kyle Larson finished 2nd, and Chase Elliott finished 3rd. So I mean, they have good cars, but they're not ready to win yet. Because they were there at the end, but throughout the race, like neither of them really challenged for the lead at all. So it'll be interesting to see if this is a common trend, or if Chevy's going to be on the short end of the stick this year, because Stewart-Haas went over the Ford this year. So that'll be something to watch out for come this weekend at Phoenix. So now let's talk about the fight. The fight between Joey Logano and Kyle Busch. Now before I give my take on this, I want to show both points of views first, and then I want to talk about NASCAR's decision before giving my opinion on it. And so to really help me look at each person's point of view, I do have a couple of die casts here, and so I'm going to go to the GoPro's point of view here now. And so this is what we got. We have a Brad Keselowski who was slowing down right here, right? And so Kyle Busch was on the high side. Logano was coming on the low side here. Brad was slow. These two were coming. Kyle Busch, it's the last lap. From his point of view, we're going to do his point of view first. It's the last lap. He's going to get every position he can. So he goes to the low side, and he makes contact with Logano. And so they both go by Brad. Brad's gone. So going into the corner now, Kyle's high, Logano is low. And what Kyle sees is definitely by Logano as he goes up. And then Kyle spins. And he lost 15 spots at the very end. Disappointment for him. And so Kyle Busch, get back here, it gets out of his car, walks over to Logano, and punches him in the face, or attempts to at least. Now, from Logano's point of view, as we bring Brad back in, the cars are coming, as mentioned before. Kyle gets into Logano, but what that does for Logano is that when he gets into turn 3, his entry is not the best. He's a little lower than where he wants to be. Thus, he's a little low going through the corner. That's how he gets loose, gets into Kyle, because as you know, 8 tires is better than 4. And so Logano gets into Kyle, and then Kyle spins. Kyle gets mad, goes up to Logano's pit crew. Kyle, it's a 1-on-6 battle, and Kyle gets punched in the face, and he's all bloodied up. So now the question is, should any of them be fined? Should any of them have any suspensions or anything like that? So what NASCAR did is no. They are not throwing any penalties out, no fines, no suspensions, nothing. And in my opinion, I agree with that. Nothing should be done with that. And so you're wondering, but Griff, what about the Matt Kenseth-Joey Logano deal? Matt Kenseth got suspended 2 races. What's up with that? The big difference I saw between the two is that what happened at Las Vegas was that it was a driver fight, like literally just drivers. No cars were used. And so it was placed in, like, there were lots of people around, and so if it got too wild that people were able to break it up so fast. What happened in 2015 was that Matt Kenseth used his car to destroy both Logano's car and Logano's chance to move on and win the championship. Now, the reason why there's a difference is because when Matt Kenseth did that, there's a good chance, it didn't happen, but there's a good chance that like some debris could have flown into the air, hurt some fans, and long story short, it's a lot more dangerous than what happened here. Now, sure, people got hurt, but nobody innocent got hurt. So I think that's the reason why there are no fines or penalties or whatever. But Kyle Busch could have revenge on Joey Logano, and something could happen at Phoenix. So it'll be something to watch for this weekend. Does Kyle Busch have any revenge on Logano? And if it has happened, does NASCAR finally lay the foot down and be like, okay, Kyle Busch, that's enough. You're going to be fined or suspended or whatever. But the one thing I love about Kyle Busch, and I'm just throwing it out here, I'm sorry. Kyle Busch, I am not a fan of his. Because of his slaying in the Xfinity series, no, I'm not a fan of his. But the one thing I do like about Kyle Busch is that he does show his raw emotions. Because he showed at the very end of the race that he wasn't happy. And instead of like pouting about it, complaining to Matt Yoakum or whoever it was, no, Vince Welch, who ended up interviewing Kyle Busch, he showed his displeasure, and instead of using his mouth to talk to Logano, he used his fists. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I really love raw emotion, and I really hope that happens more often. Now, I don't want it to happen like every race, so that becomes expected, but every once in a while, like, there should be like a rivalry, because then it's like, with 2 drivers you hate, it's like, okay, which one's the lesser of the 2 evils, you know? So I'm going to put a cap on that discussion. If you guys, anything else you want to add or throw your opinions on the fight, let me know in the comments down below. I am actually intrigued in what you guys have to think about the fight. All of you Kyle Busch fans and Logano fans, what do you guys think about what happened to your favorite driver? And from there, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the comments. So as you guys know, I respond to 5 comments from the previous episode of Grifftalks. So any comments you mention in the comment section down below in this episode is up for potential responsage, if that's even a word, from me in the next episode of Grifftalks, which you will see next Friday. So anyway, here are the 5 comments I'm going to respond to for this episode. So the first comment comes from Swagger42, and he commented, "Enjoy that lovely swallowing sound." Now, I don't know if you're trying to make a meme or a joke or something out of that, but I saw that and I did some research. And I actually looked it up, and it's like, why do I swallow air while in the middle of talking? Like, is that just a weird way of breathing or what? But believe it or not, it actually has to do with anxiety. So you're wondering, what? Griff has anxiety? What? Yeah, I have anxiety. It's one thing that I do have problems with, and I'm working on that. And that's the reason why I made this show, is to help me overcome the fear of public speaking. Now, true, there's not like 20 people behind me, it's just a camera, but I know that a lot of people are going to watch this show. And so one thing that just happens is the swallowing. I do apologize that did come out on air on the last episode. I am working on not doing that so that the stream and flow is more consistent. But if it ends up happening, and I think it happened earlier in this episode, but you won't see it because I'm going to edit it out. So Swagger42, thank you for catching that, and I do plan on working on that, and eventually I'm going to be a lot more free and calm and relaxed in front of the camera or in front of lots of people. So thank you for that. So our next comment comes from RNR2002, and he asks, what is my favorite movie-themed paint scheme? The answer to your question will be the 1999 Toy Story 2 paint schemes that ran at Phoenix, ironically enough. So I'll show you them. They are right here. Hopefully I can get you guys up. Get these guys up here front. Okay. Hopefully this is good enough. Okay. So, okay, there we go. Okay. So the Toy Story 2 paint schemes, as you guys know, ran at Phoenix in 1999. And what I love about these paint schemes is how the original companies that sponsored, at least Kyle Petty and Johnny Benson, the colors are used to their advantage. And so Toy Story 2, you have the Woody stuff. And because of that, the yellow, it works with like sunset in the west. And that all works out. And then Kyle Petty's, his color main scheme was dark blue. And so that works with space. And so that is like Buzz Lightyear and all that stuff. And then finally, Bill Elliott's, I don't understand why it went green, but all the other Toy Story 2 characters are all on here. So, yeah, so those are all the paint schemes from Toy Story 2. Much better than like 2010 when Carl Edwards had his Toy Story 3 paint scheme, where literally all it is just the Toy Story 3 characters on his hood while the rest is the Avatar paint scheme. Horrible, but you know, that's just my opinion. But yeah, that's my favorite movie paint scheme. And I want to throw that question out to you guys. What is your favorite movie paint scheme? Which one do you guys like the most? All right, so now our third comment comes from Amazing Tommaso1, and he commented, "Hey Griff, ever since HCOM Motorsports closed its doors last year, back in 2015, I felt like the 51 and 46 cars remind me of the Tom Cruise film Days of Thunder. Why did we not see those schemes at Daytona or Darlington? Also love your channel and keep up the good work." So the reason why I avoided this comment for a while is because I've actually never seen the entire film Days of Thunder. Does that make me not a diehard NASCAR fan? I don't know. But I have not seen, I've seen scenes. Like one scene I remember watching was when Tom Cruise, Cole Trickle, had his horrible crash at Daytona. So what he's asking is, why did we not see like paint schemes like related to that? Maybe it has something to do with like the movie has the rights to those paint schemes or something like that, and they're not willing to let those teams have those cars, or maybe HCOM Motorsports just isn't interested in running those schemes. There could be a million reasons why. No, I mean, you're right. It's weird because those two numbers, 46 and 51, they were used, they were both in the movie, and HCOM had both those numbers. So why they did not take advantage of that is kind of interesting. But at the same time, you could also look at the nod at the fact that even just the numbers themselves were a look back at the Days of Thunder paint schemes, or a tribute as well. So there can be a million other reasons why, but oh well, maybe someone down the road like Kyle Busch Motorsports will maybe put a nod to Days of Thunder sometime in the future. So there's still plenty of options, but it's just a matter of when and where. Who knows? All right, so now our next comment is actually not a question. It is actually a response to one of my questions from the previous episode. And my question was, what tracks would you like to see on the NASCAR schedule? And so one of the responses I want to read is from Brandon Dean. And so he commented, I do like the fact that we could be racing on the road course at Charlotte. It's something different and that's great for the sport, but going to Las Vegas again is more about where the money is, not about the racing. We need racetracks that provide the excitement that seems to be lacking from the sport. So I'd like to see more short tracks and road courses because it's something different, and different brings intrigue to the sport again. So yeah, let's talk about his response for a second. So what he's saying is bringing more short tracks and road courses in. I do agree that we do need more diverse racetracks. However, the one thing I'm going to lay off of a little bit is short tracks. And the reason why is because short tracks are supposed to be more of a developmenting ground. It's more for the developmental drivers to do their stuff. Plus, they don't have to use their resources as much. Now, sure, damage will be huge, but like in terms of tire wear and body wear, that's not as used in short tracks as it is like at 1.5 mile speedways. Because you know what they say, bigger is better for some occasions. But in terms of road courses, I do agree. I'm surprised that as of now, NASCAR only goes to 2 road courses. Now, of course, there's the nod of Charlotte using their infield in 2018. That's great, but it's kind of like it says it's a road course, but it's really not. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but at the same time, it's like, you're just taking a speedway and then you're trying to make something out of nothing, it seems like. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Now, the thing about Las Vegas, you are definitely right on that, and I kind of want to hit on that more. It is where the money is. And if I remember correctly, the reason why Las Vegas got the second race is because a sponsor, like a really big sponsor, it is coming in and is going to give I think it was like $2 million a race or something like that. So the money is there, you're right. And the one thing I do disagree with you on is that Las Vegas isn't entirely boring. Like, Las Vegas does have its moments. Now, should it replace with New Hampshire? No. But hopefully down the road we can get some more diverse tracks. Because you're absolutely right. Because one thing that NASCAR lacks that the ARCA series is really good at is diversity in tracks. Because ARCA, they got road courses, they got short tracks, but they also have dirt tracks too. Because if I remember correctly, they go to like Springfield, and that's a mile dirt track. So if Cup could potentially nod at that, that would be great. And so it's one of those things, it's like, sure, the money is there, but the question is, for how long, you know? So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. And then the final comment comes from Matt DiBenedetto fan, and he commented and asked, I should say, thoughts on only 39 cars showing up. It sucks. That's kind of the short way of putting it. It sucks. And it just shows that it costs a lot of money to run a Cup team. And so what I just asked myself is, what is expensive now that was cheap back in 2000? And what can we do so that we can cheapen the right stuff so that we can still have good racing, but we can still have plenty of teams eligible to race? I don't know if it's the carbon fiber is making it more expensive, or how the entire front of the car or the inside of the car is all touchscreen now. I don't know if that's more expensive or what. But I don't know. It's really disappointing to see that there is only 39 cars and potentially 38 if the 83 car doesn't have enough sponsorship. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. If you guys do have a car, like a car that can make minimum speed, then there you go. There's the 40th ride. So if anyone has one, then go on in. You guys are totally eligible to do that. So I do ask if there's anybody, any big team that wants to go ahead and make another team, do so. Because again, that will show the health of the sport. So now let's move on to the news portion. And because of this fight, there really hasn't been much other news this week. Most of it is just talk and people said this. But the big thing I'm about is doing. And so there are 3 things I do want to hit on. First of all, we do have an update on a potential added manufacturer on the NASCAR, and it's not good news. The earliest a new manufacturer could potentially come in would be 2019, not 2018. And so the reason for this is there's lots of steps and lots of different things that a new manufacturer has to do in order to be approved by NASCAR. And it's not a quick, easy feat. So if you guys are rooting for a new manufacturer, unfortunately, it's not going to happen probably until 2019 at the earliest. It could be later, but who knows? We've been surprised before, right? So now the next news then comes from RCR, in that they have extended their partnership with Grainger. So as you know, Grainger is a sponsor on Ryan Newman's car, and it's on 5 races this year. And those races include Phoenix, which is this weekend, as well as the first Bristol race, the Cook 600, New Hampshire, and the second Michigan race. And so this extended contract is for multiple years, and that is great. That is great for RCR and Ryan Newman. I'm glad that that sponsors are still interested in keeping going in NASCAR. I wish it was for a full season, but that's just my opinion. But remember though, Grainger wasn't always with Ryan Newman. Remember, in 1998, Greg Biffle had Grainger as a sponsor in the Truck Series, and he had it for 3 years. Then in the Busch Series, when Greg Biffle was in it for 2 years, 2001, 2002, Grainger was a sponsor. And then in 2003, and then maybe like for 1 or 2 races in 2004, Greg Biffle had Grainger in the Cup Series. So yeah, it's very cool that they did come back and as a sponsor again. So yeah, if you guys see any Grainger products you want to buy, do it, because they support NASCAR. Might as well support them, right? And then the final little bit of news is Ty Majeski. He's an up-and-coming star, and he's set to make his first Xfinity Series start at the second Iowa race. He is a Roush development driver, and so it'll be interesting to see how that'll go. And he does have iRacing as his sponsor, because that's where he got noticed. So guys, if you want to know a fact about him, in 1,112 starts, he has 830 wins. So good for him, but what you need to realize is that simulated racing is not the same as real racing. So I think it'll be a challenge for Ty, but we'll see if he goes anywhere. And plus he's with Roush. So I wonder if that's going to be the right kick that Roush needs in order for them to become relevant again. So it'll be cool to see where that goes. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about, because we do have quite a bit of time today, I want to talk about something that I posted on Instagram and Facebook, and it's my take on Cup guys in the Xfinity Series. So if you guys saw the post on either Facebook or Instagram, I'm kind of just going to reiterate that, and then I'm going to add a couple of points as well. So the point I made is that the Cup Series is like the big playground that all the big kids want to go to. It's the highest place with all the best slides and all the best tunnels. And then the Xfinity Series is this little playground where it's like, you got some toys there, but it's more there for developmental purposes, and it's more for littler kids to develop their skills and their motor abilities so that they are prepared to take on the bigger feats of the bigger playground. So it's great to go to the big playground, but there's more responsibility up there. And so you have this cycle. So it's like you develop in the little playground, and then once you get good and you work on your skills and you're more responsible and smarter, then you move up to the bigger playground. And that's where you should be. Now, what's been happening is that people that have made their way from the little playground to the big playground and have mastered the big playground as well, they said, we're not having enough. So we're going back to the little playground, and they use the toys and developmental stuff there, kicking the little kids to the side, and they can't have their fun. So what's been happening is, because of that, the little kids are not developing well enough so that once they do hit the big playground, they're not ready, because they couldn't use the little toys to assert themselves into the big playground. And that's what's been happening in NASCAR. Because Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski is constantly going in and kicking butt in the lower tier series, those actual drivers that are learning how to compete at a semi-larger level, they don't know how to be successful. And that's why I think Chase Elliott is so stressed out a bunch, is because he doesn't know how to win, and he always is used to losing. And I think that's so rough for them. So you can make that argument, and Jeff Gordon has made that comment because he replied to Kamikaze Games on Twitter, and it's like, oh, it's a good challenge for Cup guys to move down to the Xfinity Series, and it gives them that challenge so that if they do beat them there, then they'll be ready for the Cup Series. That's like taking physically fit 6th graders, putting them into a 4th grade gym class, and making them all do a 400-meter dash. Now, to all of you track people that do track and field, you know that race is absolutely difficult. And so only the physically fit kids really know how to do it. And so to put a little more of a perspective, those 6th grade physically fit kids will easily kick butt, but then you'll have 1 or 2 of those crazy maniac 4th graders that are track stars since they were born. Those are the only ones that can keep up with them. So in my opinion, we gotta throw those 6th graders away, and sure, those 4th graders will dominate, but it just comes to show that they are more ready for the bigger playground or for the Cup Series. Because what we need is, we need those developmental drivers to compete and actually, win without interference from the Cup Series. And so we need that developmental cycle to happen. And then it's like if it comes a point where there's an Xfinity driver absolutely ready to go, but there's no ride in the Cup Series, they'll take a Cup driver who is not doing so well. So a big example I could see is like William Byron. Let's just say he ends up winning a bunch of races. And let's just say Casey King is not living up to his potential. William Byron can then replace Casey King, while Casey King can go back to the Xfinity Series and he can develop his skills a little more. That's what Michael Annett is doing. And yeah, sure, you can have the whole sponsored argument, but Michael Annett, I think he's a good driver, but he just needs to develop his skills a little more. And I'm kind of glad sponsors are there on his side, but he needs to show that he actually is a good driver. It's one of those things, it's like we gotta keep going with this cycle, and I really, really hope NASCAR steps in and realizes that we need these younger drivers to actually do good. And that's the reason why the Truck Series is doing so good. Is because we see those other drivers actually, compete for the win. And that's why Christopher Bell is so noticed, is because he doesn't have to deal with Kyle Busch, Brett Keselowski, Joey Logano in the Truck Series. He just deals with other drivers that are either full-time in the trucks, which is also great, or those other drivers that are developmenting too. It just shows that Christopher Bell is more ready for the next step up than others. You can't say the same thing in the Xfinity Series because Kyle Busch, who wins all the time in the Xfinity Series, he pretty much destroys any chance at developmenting that. So I don't know what he's proving. I don't know what he's trying to do to make NASCAR better, but it's bad. And I really hope NASCAR, you do hear this. And we need teams and drivers to develop in the Xfinity Series and know what it's like to win without interference from the Cup Series, so that once they are ready for the Cup Series, then they can compete against those Cup drivers on their turf instead of bringing it to the little kids' turf. So please, NASCAR, we gotta fix this. I love the Xfinity Series, but no one's interested in it because we know that a Cup driver is gonna win every weekend. So let's make names here. None of this, let's make Kyle Busch relevant again or whatever. So that's my opinion, that's my take on it. And if you guys have any opinions on it, please let me know in the comment section down below. I'll probably respond to at least one of them in the next episode. So, final part of this episode, I will go ahead and make my predictions as we do head out west, as we continue, I should say, heading out west at Phoenix. We got lots of heat. It is going to be very interesting, and it's going to be one of the last races with the old configurement. Now, as I mentioned, the Xfinity Series as well as the Cup Series are going to be there. And the Xfinity Series, it's going to be a Dash for Cash race, meaning that those Cup drivers with 5+ years experience are not in. But there are still 5 notable Cup drivers in this race. You got the Dillon brothers, Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, and Ryan Blaney. Now you can make that excuse like, oh, Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez are rookies. It doesn't matter. If you're in the Cup Series, stay in the Cup Series. But anyway, I've already finished that rant. I do have Eric Jones winning the race. But one new thing I will do too on the episodes is I will say which Xfinity driver to look out for. And this weekend, I'm going to say William Byron. If there's any Xfinity regular that I think that can make a difference this weekend, it will be William Byron. And the other question is, can Bubba do some good too? Bubba, with the exception of the wreck he had at Daytona, he's had some good runs. Can his streak continue as well? So now on the Cup side, Kevin Harvick, he had the tough luck at Las Vegas, but Phoenix has been a real feeding ground for Harvick. So because of that, I do have Harvick winning at Phoenix. I picked him last week, didn't work out, so I'm going to pick him again. Hopefully he will win. But another driver to look out for would be Eric Jones, because if I'm right and Eric Jones does win the Xfinity Series race, I do think that he will be a potential threat for the Cup race as well, and he could potentially be the first rookie to win. And then the last thing we gotta look out for is revenge. Will Kyle do anything with Joey Logano at Phoenix? We'll just have to sit and find out. So, with that being said, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are heading out to Phoenix this weekend, good luck. It's gonna be really hot. So bring plenty of sunscreen when you head on out, but it should be a load of fun. So thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.